Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to Behind the Scenes at the Hanover Theater here on WCRN 8:30 a.m. This is Lisa Condit, and I am here with Laurie Carr today in the studio, and we are going to talk to you all about the Broadway League Conference we just went to. Welcome, Laurie.
Good morning, Lisa.
Hey, we had a good time in New York City, huh?
I know. Where to begin?
I would say let's begin with, I think that this is probably one of the best parts of our job that we got to go to this conference.
I couldn't agree more.
I know. And so the Broadway League. The Broadway League is a league of theaters that present Broadway and Broadway tours across the country. So all of our peers and the press agents and the directors and producers and some talent and actors, they were all there at this conference. And we were there for what, 5 days?
Mm-hmm. From Monday night, late Monday night to Friday.
Yes. And so we had all sorts of different conversations. What was your favorite? Work-wise.
Work-wise?
Yeah.
So my favorite would have to be the social media aspect because that's something that I'm working on. And I'm really excited to hear that social media is really on the up. I mean, we all know that social media, Facebook, Twitter, there's so many different applications and platforms out there. And to see it all being utilized by all these companies, and they're tracking and they're getting great sales results from it, that's some effective marketing right there.
Right.
And it was very interesting to see what they were doing.
Friday, Digital Day, was really, really informative. And I was impressed by the statistics. I am blown away by, what is it, over 50% of people buying tickets buy them with their phone.
Right.
That's nuts.
I know.
But then when you think about it, when we were at the conference, we were both on our phones now, weren't we?
We were.
Yes.
Every second keyed or tuned in with our cell phones, our smartphones.
And, you know, the other thing that I thought was interesting is they were talking about how to use your phone while you're at the theater. Well, of course, we don't want people to be using their phones when they're sitting in a Broadway play, right?
Right, because it can be distracting with the light and the
the
sound.
actors hate it, and we don't want them taking pictures, and that's never going to change. But at the same time, people are doing it. So trying to figure out how are we going to really come together and acknowledge and embrace the fact that people have their mobile phones with them all the time, with respecting the people on stage and the production and the people surrounding you in the audience. It's a tough balancing act, I think.
I think it is too, but I think both before, during the intermission, and after the show, there's ways to engage with the audience, and maybe, you know, with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, people can post the pictures of themselves at the event. They can take a picture of them in the theater before the show starts, and then you can put your phone away, and then during intermission, bring it back out and buzz about the show. And I think it's just, like you said, finding that balance and seeing if we can kind of steer people towards that direction.
Oh, there's lots of opportunity there, and it's the opportunity that we are always looking for, too, and why we love this radio program, and that's ways to engage with our audiences before the show, during the show, after the show. So that's really what we've got our work cut out for us this summer, right?
I know. A lot of planning, especially with all the fabulous shows we have coming up.
I know, and we got to see Jersey Boys, everybody, on Broadway, and I thought it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
A must-see, especially if you love the music from that time frame. It's a wonderful story. I don't think many people know the story of Jersey Boys and how they came about, and so it's a great opportunity to see how they got started and some of the challenges along the way that they faced.
Well, it's funny because we had the real Frankie Valli at the theater way back when, about 4 or 5 years ago, in September. And in one of the sizzle reel clips with Frankie Valli and one of the other founders of the group, they were talking about how Jersey Boys, they thought it was going to be bigger than even they were. And here's the thing, Jersey Boys and the Four Seasons, especially the group The Four Seasons, you know, a lot of us think, oh, no offense, but this is really a show for a much older demographic, because really, are we thinking about the Four Seasons and their music? But then when you're sitting in the musical, I could not help but tap my foot along with every single song that was playing, because we recognize the music. It's part of our culture collectively. And so it's really a great story. I won't say for all ages, because as we all know, it has that authentic Jersey language. We all know what that means. But truly, if your kids are watching anything on HBO or almost anything on prime time, they probably won't be shocked by it. At the end of the day, it is the true story of Frankie Valli, and this group of guys from New Jersey who really made it big, but they all had their demons. There was gambling, women, drinks. I didn't know, for example, that Frankie Valli had the children that he had and the different crises that happened there. Was there anything that surprised you about the show?
I didn't realize how maybe that they didn't really get along for parts of it. I know that, when you have brothers and sisters, you can fight sometimes, and that's just a part of growing up. And so obviously these guys that came together and were friends and growing both professionally and in their personal life, they had their battles with each other, but in the end they came together.
They totally stood by each other. I didn't know that I didn't know that jail was such a prominent theme in their early years.
I know.
I had no idea. But, that's the whole thing that's great about Broadway and shows and going to the theater and experiencing it live, because listening to people sing live is so completely different than listening to these songs on the radio.
It's really true. They bring it to life right in front of your eyes. It's like you're part of the production.
Right. And remember when they came for our Broadway preview party and we had the Q&A and the mini performance? I'm going to go back. I'm going to listen to that Q&A because it has so much more meaning now, too. And for everybody who's listening, that Q&A is available on the Hanover Theater's website through our blog. And again, that's thehanovertheater.org. When you look at our site, the blog is right in the center there. One of the things that I really thought while we were there is, first of all, New York City is a very exciting, thrilling place. And of course, it doesn't matter what time of day or night you go outside. The lights are on. There are people out there. But you know what? We've got a lot of really great things that we're offering here in Worcester as well. And the fact that we can see that same, really, truly, same quality show, like Jersey Boys here in Worcester at the Hanover Theater, as we could when we were in New York, I think that's phenomenal. And I'm really excited that we're in this industry and that there are resources for us. And I was really impressed with the speakers that they had, not just the celebrities, but we're talking... These are the people who are doing all of the search analysis and the mobile marketing for Google and Live Nation, and there's such a business behind the theater, and so we all need to pay attention and think about what's coming up in the next level in the next generation and how to really keep everybody of all ages inspired and excited. And there's a huge education component that was stressed a lot during this conference too. And with one of our other shows coming up, Memphis, Memphis has a lot of educational components because it's about tolerance and diversity and racism. And the story itself is interesting, but then being able to take the stories and bring it to different communities. There are case studies of how that was done in other markets, and it's so interesting to see, again, the opportunities in working with schools or colleges, different community groups, civic leaders. It's a really great way to stay involved and connected, and it, to me, reinforces how, once again, this is a much bigger community here in Worcester working towards a much bigger goal. With the revitalization of downtown Worcester and the theater district, it's not just about the Hanover Theater for the Performing Arts, although I do like that that's a big part of it. It helps our job, doesn't it, Laurie?
It does. And to go back to the education piece, I really loved how they incorporated some of the themes from Memphis into what they were doing in the community. I think the reason why Broadway is so successful is because it takes those topics and things that we can all relate to and kind of highlights it on a bigger scale. And so for them to address these racial issues that maybe some people are experiencing in their own communities and some workshops to help them move through that and see that we're all equal here. I think that was a really great workshop that they had created for their community.
Right. And I think also just being reminded that theater is about trying to understand humankind and the struggles that people have, being able to experience maybe opening our minds to a different perspective or perception of a situation. I mean, we also got to see Trip to Bountiful with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Vanessa and Cicely Tyson. And oh my gosh, that was a phenomenal play. Straight play, not a musical. We probably won't get it at the Hanover Theater anytime soon. But my point is, it addresses the issue of aging parents and what the elderly have to contribute to our household and our society, and respecting that. And it's just so powerful to be able to watch something like that on stage. And you really do feel it when there are people in front of you and it's not the TV and it's not a screen at the movie theater.
That was a great show. I enjoyed that one.
Kinky Boots, that was another one we got to see.
It was. I knew that show was going to be good because my sister had seen the movie. I think it came out in 2005, and she said, "You've got to see this movie." Unfortunately, I haven't had time to see it. So when we had the opportunity to see Kinky Boots, I saw it listed. I was like, "Lisa, we have to go to that one."
Oh, totally. And Cyndi Lauper is the person who did the score. And it was her first time doing a score for a Broadway musical. It was so fun. And you can definitely recognize some of her trademarks in those songs. But talk about current and cool and fun. And then the other show we saw was Matilda.
Yes. And that, it reminded me of Mary Poppins in the sense that they had those big scores. It was very family oriented.
Lots of kids.
Lots of children. It was an overall great show to bring the family to.
So that's starting to tour. That's not scheduled for us next season. But here's the thing. I would love it if our listeners went ahead and they called and they let us know what kind of feedback they had. What would they like to see as far as different outreach activities? We are limited in the shows that we get by schedules and availability, but we do always want to hear from you. So call the station, call into the audience review line, let us know what you think. We will be checking messages. So, Laurie, anything else that we want to let people know about?
No, I think just tune in, and you're going to look forward to some really great promotions and some social media expansion as we continue on in the season.
That's right. Onward and upward for 2013-14. Watch out, world. Here comes Worcester. And stay tuned for more behind the scenes after the break. Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you.